Desmond Tutu is by profession the Emeritus Archbishop of Cape Town, by conviction a servant of his laws and his country, and by his actions a champion of the poor, the sick, the hungry, the oppressed, and the voiceless people of the world. Within the Church, he takes the view that its global leader should not be chosen by the British Prime Minister, that Anglicans should not discriminate against homosexuals, and that those parts of the Bible that endorse slavery or stipulate that women should not speak in churches should be quietly set aside. Beyond the Church, though always informed by his Christian convictions, he has played a central role in the ending of apartheid. He has condemned homophobia as a crime against humanity comparable to apartheid. He has championed the human rights of women, especially in the African context, and he has been active as a public health campaigner and as a champion of peace and of climate change awareness. The two diseases that are most prominent in South Africa and that will engage the lives of some of the medical doctors and scientists graduating today are TB and HIV/AIDS. If I may use Dr. Tutu's own words to address you, those who work to care for people suffering from AIDS and TB are wiping a tear from God's eye. In the case of TB, which Desmond Tutu suffered as a young man, his passion for eradication is embodied in the research conducted at the Desmond Tutu TB Center at Stellenbosch University, in the hospital on that campus, and in its patronage of the UK charity TB Alert. In the case of HIV/AIDS, Dr. Tutu is patron of the Desmond Tutu HIV Foundation, honorary chairman of the Global AIDS Alliance. He has also been an outspoken opponent of senior figures in South Africa who deny the link between HIV and AIDS. Desmond Tutu is now a global figure, and that standing is perhaps best represented by his position as chairman of the Elders, an interventionist group of 12 former world leaders, including Kofi Annan, Nelson Mandela, Jimmy Carter, Mary Robinson, and in absentia, Aung San Suu Kyi. This global standing is an unlikely outcome for a man whose life began almost 80 years ago on the oppressed side of what was to become the apartheid divide. He grew up in a small gold mining town in the Transvaal, where his father was a teacher and his mother was a cook and cleaner at a school for the blind. Young Desmond's first profession was teaching, which he abandoned after the Bantu Education Act, which enforced separation of races in all educational institutions. He then turned to the church, a decision influenced by his admiration for Trevor Huddleston, who, when Desmond was young, had raised his hat in respect as he greeted Desmond's mother. Desmond Tutu trained as a clergyman in South Africa and then in London. He served as a parish priest and in 1975 became the first black Anglican dean of Johannesburg. A year later, Soweto erupted in righteous violence, in the wake of which Desmond Tutu supported the economic boycott of South Africa, including the disinvestment program that subverted the strength of the rand and so exerted real pressure for reform. Desmond Tutu was appointed Bishop of Lesotho and Secretary General of the South African Council of Churches, and in this latter role, he brought many churches beyond the Anglican Communion into the struggle against apartheid. In 1986, he became Archbishop of Cape Town and Primate of the Church of the Province of South Africa. These positions made him the most prominent advocate of the view that apartheid was contrary to the will of God. In the end, apartheid fell, in part because of the leadership of Desmond Tutu. And in 1995, President Mandela appointed Dr. Tutu as chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. This commission may well have been the most demanding task of Desmond Tutu's life. Until it was established, the prevailing model at such historic moments was retribution, as exemplified by the Nuremberg trials and the denazification purges at the conclusion of World War II. Desmond Tutu rejected retribution in favour of the much more difficult aspiration to reconciliation, which naturally alienates those who seek revenge. This commission had a transformative effect on South Africa and has been a model for truth and reconciliation commissions in 19 other countries. In subsequent years, Desmond Tutu has assumed global roles but has continued to serve as the moral conscience of South Africa, and as Nelson Mandela put it, as the voice of the voiceless, sometimes strident, often tender, never afraid, and seldom without humour. We cannot claim to be the first to honour Desmond Tutu, in that he received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1984, the Albert Schweitzer Prize in 1986, the Gandhi Peace Prize in 2005, and the American Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2009. He has also received almost 100 honorary degrees. On this record, the honour that we are conferring today might seem surplus to requirements, but it is not, for two reasons. First, it was Dr. Tutu who coined the phrase Rainbow Nation to denote the ethnic mix of South Africa, and we in Leicester live in Britain's Rainbow City, the most diverse city in the nation. We stood with the people of South Africa during the long years of apartheid. And in 1986, we acquired a Nelson Mandela Park. Second, Dr. Tutu lives a life energized by Christian belief. And Leicester, in the words of our bishop, who is here today, is the most believing city in England. Mr. Vice-Chancellor, on the authority of the Senate and of the Council, I present to you Desmond Mpilo Tutu that you may confer upon him the degree of Doctor of Letters.
And welcome you among us. Many congratulations, and thank you very much indeed.